Hello and welcome to The Bottom Line on May 1st, which is Labor Day here in Poland. Last week we attended a huge European Economic Congress in Katowice, and we were very pleased to find an expert on the circular economy, a topic that I've been wanting to explore for a very long time. I'm very pleased to be joined by Ewelina Szczech-Pietkiewicz, an associate professor at the Warsaw School of Economics, who is an expert in the topic. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, hello.
So, the circular economy, let's begin with perhaps what it is and perhaps what it isn't. So give us a little bit of insight into that.
Okay, thank you for this question and also for asking me what circular economy is not. Well, to start with, what we are going to deal with during our conversation about circularity. Circular economy is a business model, basically, but a sustainable business model. This is a model of production and consumption. So we have those two parts in circular economy, and the goal of circular production and circular consumption is to keep the materials, keep the resources running in economic cycle as long as possible, potentially also not producing any waste. That would be the ideal. But what we need to remember is this is both production and consumption, so we can have strategies for consumption and production. And also this is about keeping our materials running in the cycle as long as possible. The reason why I'm so glad you asked me what it is not is because most of our research, regardless of whether we ask business people or just ordinary consumers, most of the associations with circular economy is recycling. This is usually the first response we get to the question, what do you think is circular economy? Which isn't entirely wrong, but isn't also entirely right. Recycling is one of the strategies for circular economy, but it's neither whole of the circularity, nor it is very efficient. We have a plethora of other more efficient strategies for circularity, for keeping those materials, keeping the resources in our cycle, in our business cycle or consumption cycle that are more efficient than recycling. For example, starting with design, we can design products in a way that make them repairable, for example, that make them use less materials in the first place, and we can design the products or processes, depending on what kind of business we run, in a way that closes the loop or not. So recycling is somewhere at the very bottom. It's because this is basically where we actually have waste and we have to do something with the waste. The idea of circularity is that we never have waste. We treat our waste as our resource. So to paraphrase, one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? This is basically like what we do in circularity. We can recycle, and technology helps us to recycle more and more materials and more efficiently. However, thinking about circularity, we would have to start thinking from the design phase, from the very beginning. The most efficient strategy for circularity is to refuse. So we can refuse as consumers, thinking about whether I actually need another pair of black pants. Is it going to make my life better?
As well.
Yeah. So, but in terms of production, refusing is also a very efficient strategy. Thinking about can you not package your goods, for example? Can you refuse the packaging, right? Is my product packaged enough for it to be safe.
Does it need that extra layer of packaging? Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be the most efficient strategy, because by refusing, we are not putting new materials, new resources in that cycle at all. So this is the most. This is where we get the most savings for our business case also. And also we have remanufacturing, we have repair, which is a very strong case here for circularity. So which we tend to forget about a lot of times, and a lot of other very efficient strategies, but because of the the format that we have, I would strongly focus on the design phase as the most efficient for circularity.
Well, it begs the question whether there is a business case for a circular economy, because listening to you, it makes me think that some entrepreneurs would be like, well, where's the business case for what I provide in terms of, packaging or for that extra element in that product?
So, yes, to answer very shortly, yes, there is a business case for circularity, but to go a little more into details, how do we transform it into a profitable business case, basically? Well, if you don't use something, you don't pay for it, right? Mm-hmm. This is the bottom line of the profitability for circularity. So this is cost saving if we're not using too much materials. This is
then
cost
don't others lose out?
Yes. That may be, the case, but also, and we tend to forget, like speaking with business people, discussing circularity and their approaches to circularity, they tend to forget that keeping your materials, your resources in a closed loop gives you control over the materials that you're using. And this is a strong, very strong advantage of circularity. Once you have control, you don't have risk, right? So what control over your supply chain is, we had a chance to see during the pandemic lockdowns, for example. What does it mean that our supply chain is spread globally? It geographically spread. By keeping your materials in your control, in your loop, gives you more resilience to any shocks there are. I know this is hard to measure in terms of money. However, what resilience, what stable sources of materials are, is basically priceless for business, for running a business.
A question that's just come to mind now, you say it lowers your risk, you have more control over your resources. Is this an opportunity to boost local content?
Exactly. One of the strategies that we encourage business people to use to transform to circularity is to have short supply chains and to keep it local. This is also something that it's not only about the carbon footprint of our materials. By the way, it is also, because the closer your suppliers are, the less negative impact the transportation has. But it's also about that resilience, about this keeping that to your under your control. So locality is also something that is mentioned as one of the approaches to circularity.
Do you think that in this current situation where international trade is really being tested, do you think with the tariffs as well, without wishing to steer our conversation in a completely different direction, do you think that this will be a time when the circular economy will be, motivated to develop?
I think this is a very good time for circular economy, and for different reasons. One is that locality, which is gaining more and more advantages, but also because most of the businesses now face scarcity of resources, and circularity helps to fill in this gap by using less resources, by using resources in a closed circle, using them over and over. This is at least answer to these two problems of international relations also. So yeah, circularity has a good momentum now.
I want to talk a little bit about your research and what you find in terms of Poland when you research in comparison to other countries in Europe, and how you find their levels of circularity.
So I was a member of a research team for Polish circularity gap report. This is a report that's been running for different countries, but also globally, and that allows to measure what is the level of circularity of different economies. So we have the same measurements for every economy, we have the same methodology for every economy we're researching, and Poland also underwent this procedure. It turned out that Polish economy, the level of circularity in Polish economy is at a little bit over 10%, which doesn't seem like a lot, because we know that 10% circularity means we have 90% of circularity gap. But still, if we compare it to other results of this method, it turned out pretty impressive. So a global average is about 7%, meaning Poland exceeds that. Also, the research that we've been doing was performed with our Norwegian partners, and at the same time, it turned out that a Norwegian index of circularity is 2.4, and which was, I don't want to say a shock because it's science,
but it was.
Yeah, but it was quite a surprise. It wasn't actually when you go deeper into the circularity and not look at it superficially through the lens of recycling also. Only. So Scandinavian economies turned out to use a lot of primary resources, especially in the area of energy, and it turns out our attachment to coal is not as large as we expected. Also,
so it's a misconception.
It is sort of misconception that I wouldn't go as far as to say that, well, we can keep it at this level as we have, and let's keep our economy addicted to coal, and because it has great results. It doesn't. Keep in mind 10% versus 90%. So that's one thing, but it only tells us it can be worse, which is comforting. But gives you motivation to be even better. We want to be at the level of the Netherlands, for example, where the economy is closed in 25%, and they actually are doing a lot to go even higher. So our 10% was quite of a nice surprise. But it turns out that a lot of Polish businesses are actually employing circular strategies without calling them circularity. So we have businesses very locally embedded. We have good local supply chains for a lot of for a lot of businesses, we have agriculture that has that local approach, but also has a sustainable approach, which turned out to be important issue here for circularity, and of course, and we are very material efficient, like as businesses, Polish businesses, which brings us back to that business case. If you are circular, you use less resources. It's not only good for the planet, which is a nice perk aside from that, but it also costs you less. And that's why Polish businesses turned out to be pretty circular, because they're very efficient as far as material use.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of the fact that Poland scored so high, is this something new that has been implemented, or do you think this is something that has been retained from, in terms of Polish culture, shall we say? Is it sort of like the residue?
Yes. So what I'm going to say, I'm not speaking that as a professor, but as an
private citizen.
Yes, citizen. And but during our research on circularity and explaining why the Polish index is higher than Norwegian, for example, I would always say, well, if you want to have the best ever zero waste expert, I can give you their phone number, and it's my mother. And not only my mother, but any person that had to run a household during crisis, for example.
Yeah.
So yes, this is sort of our legacy, that approach to
absolute efficiency.
Efficiency in everything. We have a lot of anecdotes about my also generation, when we unpack something and then spend more time thinking, well, this is a good package. Like, do I throw it? This is actually a good package.
This will be
I
useful.
might use it. Yeah. So yes, this approach, when you scale it up to businesses and to industries, this is something that turns out to be circularity. So yes, this is something that is our legacy also.
So, in short, there wasn't anything that was particularly implemented by Polish businesses to get this index to be so high.
Yeah, like we, of course, in Poland we've had the circularity.
It's like a natural thing.
It is, but then observing the market for a couple years now, it turns out to also be one of the trends, and more and more businesses are using this trend consciously, so to speak. So maybe it's not, it's definitely not a result of regulation that somebody tells them to transform to circularity, but they're actually employing those strategies. And we have businesses like circular boutiques, second hands basically,
Sure, yeah.
but also people who repair whatever stuff, and most of the stuff
less
can
and
be.
less of them, I think.
Yes, and but also we have businesses that adopt this collaboration approach, because for circularity, what is important is not to close yourself to your business and close yourself to your industry. A lot of materials to be used further have to go to other industries. So we have that cross-industry cooperation, like using textile that cannot be repaired, that cannot be donated anywhere. That textile can be turned into a sort of a conglomerate to build furniture, for example. Sure. So you have to think outside of your industry, and this is when we have the best results for circularity.
Okay. Professor Ewelina Szczech-Pietkiewicz, absolutely fascinating conversation. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the bottom line here on Labor Day. Make sure you tune in on every weekday here on TVP World. And in the meantime, make sure you follow us on social media and on TVP World. Goodbye.